Hey, everybody, welcome back to another episode of Outside Looking In, the podcast series where I talk to somebody from another market about their team and what they think about the Raptors. Because everybody, we always want to know, like, hey, what do you think about my team? Because my team is the one I care about, and you aren't from here, so your opinion means more because typically you know less, but hey, it's different and you're not biased, like all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I'm trying to get people who know more person who knows more today, Aaron Edwards. Of course, he is a writer with Crooked Media. That's all caps. Take Line Show and a talker with Locked On Phoenix Suns podcast, and of course, stand-up comedian to the stars. We're talking beforehand, getting more reps in, doing the sets. That's awesome. I think everybody has like I haven't done stand up, but this is more probably like a dudes rock guys thing. But every guy is like, oh man, if I could get on that stage. There's a reason people make jokes about it. But how you doing, man?
I'm good. I've heard that a lot though. Like, I just need to get
Yeah,
on stage, dude. Like, and I've seen it go really, really bad. So, everyone, I think one out of every like eight, it's good. So, we'll just see.
that's a pretty high ratio. One out of
Yeah,
eight. I feel like 12.5% is not so bad because a lot of people are funny, but they're
yeah,
funny in that kind of like you make witty references that everybody understands with your shared
yeah.
history of your friend group. And then I think some people they get on stage and they're like, "Well, you guys don't know me," or like, we didn't
You
do
don't
that
know
funny
this
thing
story.
together." Yeah,
Yeah,
It's like, how do I find something universally funny? And then I think immediately it's like, you go into a pool, you usually go like you take the steps down, so it's like 3 feet. I feel like
yeah.
going out to do stand-up comedy would be like it's 80 feet. Like you just walk into the ocean, except there's no slight decline to the beach. It's just like you're there. Um, I'm talking. The Phoenix Suns, Toronto Raptors. Not stand-up
Yes.
comedy, in fact. There's one team that is an out and out contender. Like they just have to be. They're spending the money. They made the
Yeah, they
trades.
definitely
They
are.
got the I don't know the friendly, backroom deals. It seems like they filled out their bench, and then you have the Raptors who, they lost their point guard, signed the FIBA World Cup star Dennis Schroeder, who's making
Yeah,
a killing. I don't know if you watched the game
I did.
yesterday. There you go. Impressive performances from him, and they have a new coach who's being accused of salacious things. He's in a lawsuit, and so there's a disparity there. But I really want to know just off the jump, what do you think about the Raptors? That's what we're here for.
I think it's good to have Dennis Schroeder because, especially in Canada, you can make him think that it's still international ball, so he can still stay Steph Curry.
Yeah,
And like most of the stuff I know about, I mean, we almost made a trade with Toronto. I mean, that's probably the bigger thing is everybody's almost made a trade with Toronto, but you guys as GM just won't do it. So that's
you
probably
know
the
that
bigger thing that I know about Toronto is they always almost make the trade that they were talking about.
there's that wiki tips, like it's that white woman with the brunette,
Yeah.
bob, and she's like the like making that face. Like I feel like that's Toronto, it's like playing hard to get, oh, I don't
Yeah.
know, who do you want to trade? Yeah. It's there's a lot of almost stories for Toronto, and that's also a lot of people think the reason for the litigious lawsuit as well is because of the history of James Dolan and Masai Ujiri. I guess who knows? We'll see what happens with it. I do want to ask: Are you up to date at all? Did you see the initial wave of like reporting on that? What do you think?
No, I didn't even know there was a legal situation.
Okay,
we
let me
yeah, like
let
this I've been so in the Sun stuff. Like one day we're getting like Chris Paul is saying that he's not signing back with the Suns, and the next day we have Bradley Beal. So it's just been like a crazy summer.
It's better that you're focused on that because that's actual tangible stuff. So I'll give you the very quick rundown. So there's a scout who works for the Knicks. He eventually gets hired to work for the Raptors. He was was doing work like creating synergy playlists, like breakdown stuff like that for the Knicks. He ended up sharing that with the Raptors.
Oh,
Synergy
I
is a
did see some of
yeah.
that. Yeah.
Synergy is a third party company that basically has a collection of clips of NBA plays. It's not like very confidential. A lot
Yeah.
of writers like myself were,
Can
you know,
go into it. Yeah.
yeah, we're just guys, you know.
Yeah.
And so anyway, that's the lawsuit. So yeah, you do know. I guess we'll see what happens with that. Let's focus on the Bradley Beal stuff. Bradley Beal, Devin Booker, Kevin Durant, DeAndre Ayton. You know, this is
Eric
et
Gordon.
cetera, et cetera, you know, filling out the back end of the bench. Contender, but like no point guard. How much, you know, Bradley Beal playmaking did you watch in Washington, if any at all?
I was watching more, but like I'm not worried about the Booker playmaking, and I think that's
Yeah.
why they put that ranking out with him and Trey Young, where they had like the top two in potential assists in the NBA. So I think that Book was making the right passes, and he's gotten a lot better at making the right pass. We just couldn't shoot the ball, and we were in the bottom bottom 10 in 3 point attempts. So I think just a bunch of dudes pumping off of good passes and then driving when Book is kind of lining them up isn't going to happen as much this year. So I could see him being a playmaker. But I said on Locked On Suns, I'd rather the best shooting guard in the league be the best shooting guard and not have to play point guard. So I want Bradley Beal to show us if he can play make.
It should be really interesting because both Bradley and Booker have done a really good job over the past 3 or 4 years, going from, you know, shooting guard who is around like 3, 4 assists per game to
Yeah,
really getting closer to like each respectively six. And some
yeah,
of that's just the result of getting more possessions and running more of like, you know, if you run a pick and roll possession, you don't have to be a great playmaker because you're going to get an advantage and you just make the pretty simple read,
yeah,
especially if you're a great scorer like those two guys. But I do think that there, especially with Booker and Beal a couple years ago, there were some like really impressive playmaking strides made, even with that said. And, you know, it's like the NBA is currently trying to like rid itself of a lot of these old school roles or these ideas about how basketball is supposed to be played per position. But even
yeah,
still, we haven't seen a team really like abandon the point guard position
yeah,
and go win a championship. But if there was a team to do it, it would be, you know, the team with Devin Booker, DeAndre Ayton, Bradley Beal, Kevin Durant, and filling out with guys like Eric Gordon, Akogi, Damian Lee, Eubanks, Yuta Watanabe, Raptors fans love. And
yeah,
like, while this doesn't sound super impressive at the back end, like the front end is kind of what makes it work. And I don't
yeah.
like I don't know if I have an analogy for that, but like, what are your expectations for the disparity? Who do you think carries bench lineups best between the stars?
I think it's going to be like Suns. We had like a huge deal where Book would play the entire first and then play like long stretches of the second, and we just didn't have scoring. Like even like I said like a while ago, like KD wasn't really with us long, so we still couldn't really get that bench stuff ready. So now I can see just Bradley Bill and Eric Gordon being like that second unit stuff, and we've never had scoring like that in the second unit, and we can fill stuff out from there. So I'm not really worried about like I think Frank Vogel's going to find his 7 or 8 like fairly quickly. Monty, he played around with that stuff a lot, and there were days you would see like Ish Wainwright play like 9 minutes. So I don't think like Vogel's gonna keep a leash that long with certain players. So I can already see like I can't think of his name right now. I think the guy that we got from the Spurs is probably gonna be the fifth starter. He talked with AZ Central about
Oh,
the
Diop
uh
or
yeah,
Eubanks?
Bates, yeah, yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so I can see just him just keeping a short leash with like big lineups, and but also trying to give KD the rest he's going to need to make it to May.
I think that also the you don't want to be too much like the Nets, but the Nets before Harden, you had KD and Kyrie, and you had like the ball humming around. Like the playmaking wasn't a
Yeah.
problem with that team.
Oh
And
yeah.
Kyrie is a very good playmaker, but
Yeah.
he's not leaps and bounds above both Booker and Beal. He's better than
Yeah.
both of them, but
Yeah.
as far as having every single person between KD, Bradley Beal, and Booker is well above average as a playmaker.
Yeah.
Well above average kind of undersells all of them as scores, to be honest. But
Yeah.
they're all like elite scorers. I just think there'll be too many advantages, and the reads will be so much simpler because you are all such talented scorers that the like point guard playmaking,
Yeah.
it shouldn't be as big of a, a bridge to, I guess, cross as far as that goes. But
Yeah, Vogel got asked
selfishly,
that. Yeah. Vogel
oh,
got
what do you
asked a
say?
couple of days ago because, of course, he's going to get asked, why don't we have a point guard? It was
Hmm.
like, we're going to run. We don't really need a point guard. We're just going to run off of pretty much everything. And that was kind of the knockoff with Chris Paul that Suns fans kind of got annoyed with is toward the end. We were supposed to start moving faster. He was supposed to shoot more threes. He was supposed to play off ball more, and he just never did it. And we were still sort of later in the season getting into the offense with like 12 seconds left, and then just being late in the shot clock. Like a lot of the times we were getting shots up. So I just like the pace that we're probably going to be playing at. We're just going to get them up, and that's just going to be fun to watch with the players that we
The yelling layup on the mid-range jumper wasn't as
have.
cute for Suns fans by the end of it.
No, we were out on it. We were like, it were times where he would get like a steal on a fast break, and I'm like, there's no way he's making this layup.
That's yeah, the Raptors. We'll switch it over. What a segue from me. Thank you. Yes.
A missed
They're gonna
layups.
want.
That's the segue.
I was thinking more so like running out in transition, but then there are a couple players in the Raptors who don't perform so well as far as layups in transition. Unfortunately, maybe it gets better going forward. But the Raptors, I'll read you like the starting lineup may not include Dennis Schroeder. It might be now. I'm sure you don't have like the highest, opinion of the shooting of Scotty Barnes, Jakob Pertl, and Pascal Siakam as three guys in a starting lineup. But that's going to be
I,
the front court.
I was willing to give y'all Ayton for Pirtle at one point, so I do not hate Pirtle's game.
Would you do Ayton for Pertl this year?
Nah, I want to see what Vogel can do with Ayton first, but give me till like December.
That's like the well, because Pertl is a great just like slide in guy. Like
Yeah,
he'll find a way to make it work with stars for sure. Yeah, that's the placeholder deal, the almost trade that
yeah.
the teams do. That'll be. I don't think either team makes that trade, but it's fun to like fan cast about it for sure. But regardless, the Raptors, they were aggressively 500 last season. They missed the playoffs. Fred VanVleet leaves. Nick Nurse gets fired, and they bring in Darko Rajakovic. They bring in the likes of Dennis Schroeder. They have Scotty Barnes. They have Pascal Siakam. They have OG Anunoby, a really great wing tandem, but they still have to be able to make it work offensively. They've been bottom five in half court offense the past 2 years. I'm curious, do you think there's beautiful basketball to be played in Toronto? What are your expectations?
I think that you guys are so like long and rangy that the half court offense is already out the window. You guys want to run. You guys want to stop people from scoring and off of rebounds push it with like Siakam. He's gotten really a lot better at ball handling. So like you don't really need a guard if on transition you got to do that big running down and usually making the right decision. So I like the way they played. It's just the scoring part. Like Van Vliet shot like a terrible percentage last year, and he was still getting them up. So I think like I like the base of what you guys have. That's why I was wondering like why you guys were kind of shopping Ananobi, even though I kind of wanted him before the KD trade came up. And I do like the size and just you can see what Masai is going for. He wants to annoy you on defense and run.
I think this is what I talked about, and what I will talk about with most people is that this is a team that has to lead defensively. Like, of
Yeah.
course. And so when you look at the roster, it's filled with still, even after a down year where people thought, okay, Vision 6-9 is over because Jakob Pertl is in there. And they kind of abandoned the idea of, okay, everybody comes together to play the big man position, which, Jakob Pertl was like, I'm 7'1", I'm the big man now, which
Yeah.
is good. I quite like it. But you look at Jalen McDaniels, Pascal Siakam, Christian Coloco, Chris Boucher, Otto Porter Jr., Scotty Barnes, OG Anunoby, Precious Achua, even a guy like Grady Dick who's 6'9". It's just like, or 6'8" maybe. It's a lot of length out there. And length doesn't necessarily equate to really good defense, but there is already quite a few known, a couple elite defenders in there. If I said to try and guess their ranking as far as the defense by the end of season, what do you think it might be?
Um, right. I'd say 12, 13.
12? So
Yeah.
this is, I think that's their floor.
Yeah.
I think that it can get, like, much, much better. They were really good defensively with Jakob Poeltl after the trade, like, one of the I
Yeah.
think the 5 best defenses,
Oh.
and yeah, we learned things about that's the whole point of this
Yeah.
podcast. I'm like, "Oh, Frank Vogel talked about this. Great. What'd he say?" We're both aggregating to each other right now. That's what this is. Um, but yeah, I think that, like, a top 12, I could see them if things don't go
Yeah.
as well as they'd like. There's a lot of size out there. Pascal is, an above average defender, even though he had a down year last year. OG Anunoby was all NBA for the first time last season, even though, and he's kind of been hovering around it. Scotty Barnes was a plus last year, and I think should keep improving, or at least you hope. And Jakob Poeltl, while not being probably an all defense level center, is close enough that he elevates every lineup he's in defensively. And I'm just like, when I see this team and you talked about you guys aren't scoring the ball well, it's true. There's a
Yeah.
reason that, like, it would have been nice if Fred shot the ball better, of course, but the team kept giving him the ball because they're like, we're not creating a bunch of other stuff elsewhere.
Yeah.
Now, hopefully in the summer, guys added to their games, new offensive principles added by Darko will help, but they got to get stops. They got to get out and run. And I guess we'll see what that ends up doing. But it is encouraging to hear you say that you like the bones of the
Yeah,
team
I like it.
because
Well, you can see why he built it. Like the conference, he's like, we're gonna have to play Giannis, we're gonna have to play Embiid, we're gonna have to play Boston. Like we need size because those teams aren't exactly small. So he had to build a big team for plans to make it to the playoffs. I'm sure like it won't look good every regular season game having to like struggle on offense, but be really good on defense. But when possessions get shorter in playoffs and Giannis is just bouncing the air out of the ball, just trying to put his shoulder in somebody, you need the bodies and you need size for that.
I guess, yeah, I cart before the horse. I wonder because, like, you have to get there. I
Yeah.
do. I hope I'm wrong, but I don't think the team will be very good this year. I hope I'm wrong. I think that would be awesome. And if they are good this year, I think it means that there's a couple guys who are playing much better as far as creation on ball. I think that
Yeah.
the defense will be really, really good. And if they do get to the playoffs, that's kind of been their, even though they didn't make it last year, that was what
Yeah.
every Raptors fan was telling themselves was, oh, if they don't want to see us in the playoffs because we have all these rangy,
Yeah.
wing
The year
defenders to
before,
throw.
you guys annoyed the Sixers, like, and I mean, Embiid wasn't exactly like healthy, but you guys annoyed the hell out of him, and I think that's what Masai plans for is just to annoy people with your size once the playoffs start.
That's an interesting place to be as a team for a little while. But at
Yeah.
some point, you want to transcend, like, the annoying team, and you want to be
Yeah.
the better team. You know what I like?
Yeah.
It's good to be like the annoying team against the teams that are viewed as better. But the Raptors used to be just the better team for like years
Yeah.
and years and years. They were in the top half of the conference. Well, even over the past, I don't know, decade or 12 or 13 years of basketball, it would be like the Warriors and the Raptors as far
Yeah.
as, and I guess maybe the Clippers as far as most games won. But it's an interesting team makeup. I wonder, with back to the Suns, DeAndre Ayton. You talked about wanting to trade him, but the front court is his. Like,
Yeah.
he is for periods of time an all-star level big. If he has a really big season, it completely changes the complexion and the makeup of the team. I'm curious what you think he's going to be able to do under Vogel.
I think if he changes what he considers a big season, because I think that he's not going to get the touches. Like that's just not how it's going to work. KD when he first got here, he made it like he made an effort to get Ayton the ball early in games. Like KD wasn't shooting a lot in like first quarters and like second halves because he was just feeding Ayton the ball because he was trying to keep the big happy. Because you can already tell that Ayton was wondering where his place was in the team. I don't know if he's going to go out of his way to do that next year. I think that the Vogel's just going to be the anchor on defense. Sometimes I'm gonna ask you to switch, but I need you to guard the rim. And he got blocks. He's finally blocking shots in like FIBA, and he was stealing the ball. Like he was way more aggressive. So I think that if he can change what he thinks success is, and just becomes that, just a really good rim protector that can just catch the balls on really open pick and rolls and score, then he's gonna have a great season.
I that is he's very talented. He's also the thing he's been placed into like because of the fantastical offensive capabilities of the Suns, especially the starting lineup. He's kind of placed into like this garbage man role, like wheel greaser. Like you got to set
Yeah,
the screens, you got to clean up offensive possessions by banging on the glass, like roll, drag in the tag so we can run that action on the weak side, like
yeah,
keep the offense humming through all this stuff. And you look at what he came up doing, it's like get the ball here 14 feet, like little finesse game,
yeah,
face up, all this kind of stuff that he wants to do. But his most success, like when they made that run to the finals, a lot of what made them viable was that moved away from that and had a little bit more buy-in defensively and to kind
yeah.
of like grind on offense. And what do you think made him move away from that? Because he did have that buy-in for a short amount of time.
I think it was a mixture of just the beef he had with Monty and Chris Paul, and just once you're beefing with the top guys and you're not, it wasn't, and the fans were kind of turning on you too. Like I think once all that stuff added up, and he just couldn't bounce back from it because there was it was like a stretch where he would go like 20 points, 20 rebounds, and then we'd be on his side again, and then he'll disappear the next game. And it was just a consistency. And I think having just Chris Paul walk the ball down and just point at a spot and just be like, set a screen, set another screen, set another screen. And he just kind of got annoyed with that. And I think that he's just going to be in a lot more open space. Like, this is going to be the most space he's had. Having Chris Paul on the floor wasn't exactly easy for him. Like, everybody knows Chris Paul isn't going to shoot the open jumper. So they were able to just kind of sit back on him and just wait it out. I think that just having the spread out offense that we're going to have is going to be a lot open for him. He's going to get switches he wants, and he's going to have to actually abuse those switches because that was another beef we had. He just wouldn't score on guards whenever he got that switch. And if he comes into the season with that kind of aggression and knowing he's not going to get that many touches, so he uses the ones that he has to his advantage, then yeah, like he's going to have a great season.
It should be exciting. But yeah, like you get a switch, early seals on wings and guards, put the shoulder down, like no fade, don't
No
fade,
fades.
no
Those
fade.
fades.
I I've watched like I probably watched about like 18 or 20 Suns games, which is a lot for an out of market
Yeah.
guy last season. So I'm like fairly familiar with a lot of the games, but I also am on Twitter and saw like the clipped like a lot of people were like, why are you fading on it's a popular sentiment. But
He fades on switches a lot.
yeah. Frank Vogel though is as far as like coaches who are known for things, coaches are known for things, yes, but he's known as a big man whisperer.
Yeah.
Like he's been able to get a lot of stuff out of bigs in the past. Even a couple All Star years out of Roy Hibbert. Isn't that crazy? Do you remember the
I
Roy
mean,
Hibbert era?
verticality, man. He brought in verticality.
You know what's the crazy thing? Jonas Valanciunas was on the Raptors at that point in time, and because Roy Hibbert was just like the big bastard who stands straight,
Yeah.
the
He
Raptors were
got
like,
paid a lot of money for standing
yeah.
straight.
The Raptors went to Jonas Valanciunas, who was like this dynamic Lithuanian, big they had just drafted who could do like a lot of stuff. And they're like, you need to put on 40 pounds and be like Roy Hibbert. And it just completely derailed the start of his career. And then eventually he ended up shedding the weight and like finding his
Yeah.
game and everything. But before that, they're like, no, like you need to go gain 40 pounds and become White Hibbert. And it was so bad, man. The Hibbert era was a crazy era. I
The
can't
Hibbert
believe
era was really
that. Like
crazy.
that Pacers team was cool.
Yeah, they
I
were
just,
fun.
yeah,
They were. they were really good on defense, and Paul George, that was like when I probably liked them the most. But yeah, like the verticality thing and them almost taking Miami to like the end is really really crazy to think about now.
Yeah. Game sevens, man, with Miami. That Miami team, super
Yeah,
impressive. But yeah, fingers are crossed for Ayton. A lot of Raptors fans, a lot, some Raptors fans wanted to target him, in a
yeah,
trade. Some people wanted it to be, OG, not that many. And then other guys, every team is like, we have like four guys at the end of the bench that other teams want, and we get a really good
yeah.
player back. There's kind of that going around,
I mean,
but
that's what we did to
um,
the Wizards.
that was such a weird trade. It lasted like 42 days. It was like
Yeah.
stuff kept getting added to it. Everybody's like, that was my reaction. I was like, that's what they traded for Beal?
Yeah, I
Like
was
two
like, Chris
brooms
Paul
and
and
a bucket?
Shannon?
I was like, what the hell?
I
And
was like, I
then
didn't. That was what Suns fans were. We were like, we didn't want them anyway.
that was kind of I remember I was doing a landscaping job when the Kawhi Raptors trade came through,
Yeah,
and I was like, and I saw that they had traded for Kawhi. It was like, I don't know, 6 in the morning. I was driving to the site, and I was like, what the wait, I wasn't, sorry, no texting and driving, nothing. I had parked and was looking, and so I saw it and I was like, oh, we traded for Kawhi, what the hell? I was like, I can't imagine who went. I was like, it must be like OG, Pascal, Jakob, and DeMar. And then I saw it was DeMar and Jakob, and I was like, wait, that's all? And we got Danny
yeah.
Green? Made no sense to me. Um,
Yeah, it was kind of the opposite with the KD thing because it was Super Bowl weekend in Phoenix, and I'm at Colin Cowherd's Super Bowl party. So it's like a bunch of famous people there, like Shannon. I was just talking to like Mina Kimes and like all those people, and
wait,
I'm
you
like
and
getting ready
Shannon,
to,
two
huh?
Jack dudes having a conversation. There you go.
And then so like I'm like charging my phone because it died, so I can like call my Uber, and I start it up, and I just get a Twitter notification from Woj like immediately. And my friend Josh, he does a pod too, the Dime. He had already left, but he sprints back, and I'm seeing that KD got traded as he's sprinting back to me. And we're just like, I'm like, Kevin Durant is officially, and I was like, wait, what? And then Josh is in front of me, and he's like, dude, and we're just going nuts in Colin Coward's party, like jumping up and down. Everybody's like just drinking and looking at us, like, and I'm like, none of these people were looking at their phone. None of these people know Kevin Durant is the son, and I just go, Kevin Durant is the son, people. It was like super nuts. Like I was a little bit buzzed at Colin Coward's party, and KD got traded to us, and I was not being chill about it.
It was the guy in the corner meme, you know?
Yeah,
None of these people
like,
know
I
Kevin
know
Durant is his
that.
son. Yeah.
Yeah,
Hell yeah. As far as to go Raptors, just to end the podcast, is there anything else that interests you about this team? As far as like you like the bones, there's a lot to like on the Raptors. There's a reason fans of other teams are constantly putting like Raptors players in trades. There's
yeah.
guys to like there, but do you have any other thoughts on the team before we get out of here?
Will Masai ever just pull the trigger on something, or is he just going to be the new Danny Ainge? Like, I just want to know if he's ever just going to do it. I mean, the Kawhi trade is, I think he kind of used all of it on the Kawhi trade because he's like, I only got him for a year and he got the ring out of it. But I think after that, he kind of just won't pull the trigger on the big stuff anymore.
That is a the what's that Nicolas Cage Pedro Pascal movie, the unbearable
Oh,
weight of
yeah.
expectations. It's
Yeah.
not like the movie, but like that statement in itself is that Masai has built such a like he has such a there's such a reverence for his trade history that I
Yeah.
wonder if he thinks on that and compares like the prospective trades to his
Yeah.
past and like, is this good enough? And he looks in the mirror and he says, is this good enough for Masai Ujiri or something like that? Like it's,
Yeah.
am I
I wonder,
meeting the
like,
expectations?
yeah, I wonder if like say you guys are just having trouble scoring off the bench. Will he be like, I'll go get a Bones Highland or something out of nowhere? Will he do something crazy like that? Is he willing to
Yeah.
like kind of just shoot one like just go for something like that instead of saying that and then leaking that he might go for it and then February passes and then it's like, nope, we didn't get Bones Highland. That would have been a really good score off the bench though, like kind of thing.
It's I really I don't know. I've done a couple of these, podcasts so far, and everybody's kind of like, because that's the outside looking in part is I'm hearing things on my end. I cover the team. There's all the
Yeah.
Pascal stuff. But anybody who approaches this, your first question is like, hey, are they trying to trade Pascal really hard over 3 months and just didn't? Because that's what the reporting is. It's like
Yeah.
it's like, hey, you guys have an all NBA player. I'm surprised the Suns didn't get him. They're getting every All NBA player that's out there lately. But that's the question for anybody approaching the team is like, hey, are you guys trading Pascal? And I want to ask you, do you think they'll trade him? I yes, no, over
I don't
under.
think so because I think what besides asking for, I think he always asks for the wildest stuff because he doesn't want to lose a trade. Like he has that part of Danny Ainge in him. He's like, you're not getting me. Like I get people, you don't get me. So I think that's what like in his head, he never wants to lose a trade. And when another guy is like that too, things can't get done because Masai doesn't just want to win trades. He wants to win trades by a lot, and he wants to make other GMs look stupid, and that makes a lot of trades end up not happening.
I think it's a hell. The approach you want is not the I'm never gonna get got. You want Marshawn Lynch. I'm gonna get got, but I'm gonna get mine more than I got though. And
Yeah.
like that's you have to lose sometimes, but you have to be willing
Yeah.
to go out there to to keep losing. But I guess we'll see, man. It's really interesting. Masai's history, especially pre-championship, like the 7 year run, every trade is a banger. Every draft selection is a banger. Like he has carte blanche for a reason.
Yeah.
But as far as the signings, trades, all that kind of stuff lately. Even some of the draft selections, they've been like ho hum. And the Raptors had a long period of time and gained a lot of fans during that time who are not used to ho hum. And so we're in the ho hum days, and we'll see if
Yeah.
they can get it from hoeing to humming. There we go. How's that for a
That was
place to
good.
end it?
That was good.
Yeah, I'm glad. Aaron, any plugging of yourself you want to do?
Just it's gonna be a really fun season, Suns. So I know you guys have a Raptors pod, but Locked on Suns is gonna be really fun or really dramatic. Who knows? It depends on how the season's going. But I think me and Brandon we're gonna have a really good time. Once a week, I go on there with him, and we're about to talk Suns after every week. We got media day next week, so that should be pretty fun. And yeah, just come check us out.
Hell yeah! And if that stand up, that Comedy Central ever hits, we'll bring you on.
Yeah,
Yeah, you'll. There's the Joe Rogan podcast circuit you're supposed to do to promote it, but you're
yeah.
doing like the Locked On network for all the
Locked
sports fans.
up.
You're like, hey, I do comedy too. And then somebody's like, do a joke. But yeah, Aaron, it's been an absolute pleasure. I can't recommend the podcast enough for people who want to intake some of your comedy writing as well. You can do like Crooked Media, Take Line Show, all that good stuff. And yeah, you got your fingerprints all over everything.
Yeah,
So
I
Aaron,
try to keep doing stuff.
exactly. That's the way to that's what this, industry requires for what
Yeah,
it's worth. It's just like do stuff and try and get paid for most of it.
yeah,
That seems to be the consensus. But Aaron, thank you, listener. Thanks for tuning in. Lots more of these to come. I hope you enjoyed this one. And yeah, we'll see you.